So in family science, we talk about family, but what does that actually mean? What kind of relationships are actually showing up in the families that we study? Well, we can often think of dyadic relationships. If you think of the word dyad, that means two. These are relationships between two people. So the very first one that tends to come to people's minds is what we might call a romantic relationship or an intimate relationship. This is two people who are in an emotional relationship, often a physical relationship, and it's many times for a very long-term period. So this is one example of dyads, right? And within those dyads, we might have things like marriage, cohabiting relationships, living apart together relationships, with lots of variations to this intimate relationship style. But there are other dyads that can be important for us to consider as well. For example, a parent and a child is a two-person relationship. It does share some qualities to the other dyad that we talked about before, right? These are individuals that are sharing an emotional bond, that share resources, usually from parent to child to begin with, and then later in life, perhaps from child to parent. But there's differences, of course, in how this relationship looks. The imbalance of knowledge with a brand new person at the beginning and how that grows and changes over time sets this type of relationship apart from a romantic relationship. But you might be able to think of other dyads that are important that family science may want to focus on. Things like siblings. Sibling relationships are really important because they're often the longest relationship that we have in our lives. Sibling relationships are also difficult to study though, and so they've been a little bit understudied in family science. So if you're interested in siblings, we need you in family science to come and bring your ideas. There are even more dyads though that you might think of that family science is well suited for. Things like friendships, or even other dyads within a close family, such as a grandparent and a grandchild, or an aunt and a niece. So dyads are the most common in family science. We often focus either on an individual within their family context, or two people and how they relate to each other. But we may also consider triadic relationships. And if you think of the word tri, that's three, right? And so the most common triadic relationship that I see studied in family science is two new parents and a baby. And this relationship actually takes on its own characteristics, separate from the dyadic relationship of the parents and separate from the dyadic relationship of each parent to the child. And so this triad is also important to understand, and family science gives us excellent tools, theories, and research methods to study this. There are other triadic relationships that can come into play too, such as one parent and another caregiver, such as a grandparent or even a daycare provider and their child. And you might even think of other triads that you're interested in, like thruples or sibling groups that are three and more. So I hope that you'll consider what types of relationships you might be interested in. And if this captures your interest, family science may be something that you'd like to explore further. If you want to learn more about how relationships develop and specifically how love develops in a relationship, you might be interested in another video on Sternberg's Theory of Love by Dr. Todd Spencer.